The alarm woke Commander Daejung at 3 in the morning. This was not a normal alarm. This was the deep, loud sound that meant danger. Biological danger. Something alive and dangerous was on the station. Daejung jumped out of bed. His hands shook as he grabbed his emergency kit. He had heard this alarm only 2 times before in 15 years. Both times people died. He ran to the control room. The night workers stood around the main computer screen. Their faces looked scared in the red warning lights. "What is happening?" Daejung asked. Lieutenant Hyunwoo turned around. His face showed fear and confusion. "Sir, we have a level 5 predator alert in Section 7. Multiple predators detected." Multiple? Daejung felt cold. Level 5 meant the most dangerous predators. Animals that could kill armored soldiers. The station had plans for 1 predator. Multiple predators meant everyone had to leave immediately. "How many?" 17, sir. All of them are young Karvathi." Daejung stopped breathing for a moment. The Karvathi were the most feared creatures in this part of space. They came from the jungle planet Karvath Prime. They had 4 legs and crystal claws that could cut through metal walls. They had special eyes that could see in 17 different ways. They hunted in groups like wolves, but much more dangerous. Earth wolves were like cute pets compared to Karvathi. Young Karvathi were worse than adults. They were always hungry, had no fear, and did not understand danger yet. "How did 17 baby Karvathi get on my station?" Daejung asked. His voice was calm but deadly serious. "We don't know, sir. They were not on any lists. Our scanners show they have been here for 6 hours at least." Hyunwoo pulled up another screen. "But sir, that is not the strange part." "Show me." The officer pointed at the screen. "The predators are in Dr. Minji's room." "And sir, they are not hunting." "Our sensors say they are sleeping." Daejung looked closer. The scanner showed 17 Karvathi heat signatures. All of them were resting. Their hearts beat slowly. They breathed peacefully. In the middle of all of them was one human, Dr. Minji Kang, the station's alien life scientist. She was also sleeping. "Get me a camera view," Daejung ordered. "Sir, the cameras in that area are not working. I don't care what you have to do. Wake up the engineers. Connect to the maintenance cameras. Get me eyes on that room. Do it now." It took 3 minutes. 3 long minutes while Daejung looked at Minji's file on the computer. She was 29 years old. She had a science degree from Seoul National University. She had worked on the station for 3 years studying alien animals. She had no special military training. Nothing in her file said she could survive even 30 seconds with 1 Karvathi, let alone 17. "Camera feed is online, sir." The screen showed the inside of Minji's room through a small maintenance camera in the air duct. Daejung had seen many terrible things in his career. He had watched colony ships burn. He had seen hull breaches turn people into ice statues in seconds. He had once watched an alien eat its own babies when there was no food. Nothing prepared him for what he saw now. Dr. Minji Kang lay in her bed. She slept peacefully on her side. Around her were 17 Karvathi cubs. They curled against her legs. They lay across her chest. They tucked under her arms. They piled at her feet. Their crystal claws were pulled back. Their special eyes were closed. One had its big head on her shoulder. Another wrapped its tail around her ankle. They looked like giant puppies. As Daejung watched, Minji moved in her sleep. Her hand stroked the scales of the cub on her stomach. The creature made a sound, a deep rumbling sound that the camera picked up clearly. It was purring. "Sir?" Hyunwoo whispered. "What should we do?" Daejung stared at the screen. Every rule he ever learned said to evacuate the area, seal the doors, and fill the room with sleeping gas. Stop the threat. Protect the crew. But this did not look like a threat. This looked like something completely different. "Wake up, Dr. Yoon," he said finally. "Tell her to meet me outside Dr. Kang's room. Tell her to bring cameras. We need to document this." "Sir, you are going in there?" "Not yet. First, I need to understand what we are looking at." Daejung pulled up the station's alien life database. He searched for anything about Karvathi's social behavior. "And get me Dr. Kang's research logs. All of them." The night workers hurried to follow his orders. Daejung kept watching the screen. In all recorded history, humans and Karvathi had never met peacefully. The 2 species could not exist together. Humans were prey. Karvathi were predators. That was the natural order. But here on his station, a young woman slept surrounded by the galaxy's most efficient killing machines. All his sensors said predator resting with prey. The question was simple but important. Which one was the predator? Which one was the prey? Daejung looked at the screen one more time. Minji's face looked peaceful and happy. The cubs around her looked safe and content. They trusted her completely. Something impossible was happening on his station. Something that changed everything humans thought they knew about one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And somehow, Daejung knew his life was about to get much more complicated. Dr. Hana Yoon arrived wearing sleep clothes under her white lab coat. Her hair was tied back quickly. She carried 3 different types of cameras. She looked at the tablet screen Daejung gave her. She almost dropped all 3 cameras. "This cannot be real," she said quietly. She zoomed in on the video feed. Karvathi cubs don't sleep in groups. They are alone from birth, and they definitely don't cuddle with prey animals. "Welcome to my morning," Daejung replied. "Look at Dr. Kang's research logs. What do they tell us?" Hana pulled up files on her own tablet. She read through months of entries very fast. Her face changed from confused to understanding to amazed. "Oh, Minji," she whispered. "You smart, crazy woman. Explain what is happening." 3 months ago, Minji asked permission to study Karvathi eggs. The eggs came from smugglers who were caught. She said she wanted to understand how they grow up. She said maybe we could reduce fights between humans and Karvathi if we understood them better. Hana looked up from the tablet. "You said yes," Daejung remembered. It seemed like a good research project. The eggs were already locked up safely. They were going to Earth anyway. Studying them on the station would save money. It would also give the research team something important to publish. "The eggs hatched 6 weeks ago," Hana continued. "According to these logs, Minji was there for all 17 hatchings. She fed them. She checked their health. She watched them grow. That is normal science work. Yes, but there is one important detail. Karvathi cubs imprint on the first big moving thing they see after hatching. In nature, that is always their mother. The imprinting happens instantly. It controls who they trust, who they follow, who they sleep beside." Understanding hit Daejung like a wave. She became their mother. I don't think she planned it. Her logs say she was surprised by the first hatching. She was running a scan when the egg cracked. The baby saw her face before she could move back. Hana pulled up a picture from 6 weeks ago. It showed Minji in full safety gear holding a tablet. Her face was visible through the clear helmet. In front of her, a tiny Karvathi cub sat. It was no bigger than a house cat. All 17 of its special eyes stared at the camera. Stared at her. After that, she decided to work with the situation. "Work with it," Daejung repeated. His voice was flat. "She decided to become the mother to 17 apex predators. Her logs are very detailed. She wrote down everything. Feeding times, behavior patterns, social learning. Commander, she has been doing the most complete study of Karvathi early development ever done. This is breakthrough research." "This is a massive rule violation," Daejung said. "She should have reported the imprinting right away. We should have sedated the cubs and moved them to a proper containment place." "And killed them," Hana said quietly. "If you separate Karvathi cubs from their imprint source before 6 months old, they enter terminal distress. They stop eating. Their immune systems fail. They die within 72 hours. It is in every alien life textbook." Minji knew that if she reported the imprinting, the protocol would be to kill them immediately. Daejung looked back at the screen. The cubs were starting to wake up. They moved and stretched like all young animals do when waking. Minji stayed asleep. Her breathing was deep and calm. She had no fear at all. "Show me her containment protocols." Hana pulled up more logs. She changed her quarters into a strong habitat. Triple sealed doors, better air controls, biometric locks that only work for her. The cubs have never left this section. She brings their food in. She removes waste. She maintains the environment. All without anyone noticing. How did no one notice? She listed them as biological samples in the research database. The cubs eat about 15 kilos of protein each per day. That matches what molecular analysis supplies consume. As far as the station records showed, she was just running many tests. Daejung had to admire how clever that was, even as he counted how many regulations she broke. Why did the sensors flag them tonight? They are getting bigger. 6 weeks ago, they were small enough to register as research animals. Now they are approaching juvenile mass. The system automatically reclassified them when they hit the size threshold for level 5 predators. Hana stopped talking. Commander, we need to decide what to do. Those cubs will be fully grown in 4 months. At that point, they will be too dangerous to keep on the station, imprinted or not. But right now they think Minji is their mother. To them, she is not prey. She is family. Hana zoomed in on one of the cubs. It was now fully awake and nuzzling against Minji's hand. This is unprecedented, Commander. Every meeting between humans and Karvathi has been hostile. We always assumed we were completely incompatible, but Minji proved that wrong. If we handle this correctly, this could change everything we know about interspecies relations. On the screen, Minji began to wake. Her eyes opened slowly. She focused on the cub beside her. She smiled. She said something too quiet to hear. She scratched behind what looked like the creature's ears. The cub's purring got louder. Contact her, Daejung decided. Tell her the station commander will visit in 1 hour. Tell her to keep those cubs calm. You are going in there? If Dr. Kang can sleep surrounded by 17 Karvathi cubs, I can manage a conversation with her. Besides, I need to see this for myself. Hana nodded. She was already pulling up Minji's contact information. Commander? I think she did the right thing. Those cubs would have died. Now they have a chance, maybe, Daejung replied. Or Dr. Kang just created 17 trained predators who see humans as family. We will not know which until they are fully grown. He hoped they all lived long enough to find out. Daejung stood outside Minji's door. He wore full tactical armor even though Hana told him not to. If something went wrong, he wanted protection. Behind him, a security team waited with stun weapons ready. They would break in if he gave the signal. He pressed the door button. Just a moment. Minji's voice came through the speaker. It sounded a bit muffled. He heard her moving inside. Then he heard mechanical clicks as she unlocked multiple locks. The door opened. Daejung's first thought was about the smell. He expected a bad predator smell. Instead, it smelled clean and almost nice, like warm stone and fresh air after rain. His second thought was about the cubs. 17 pairs of special eyes looked at him immediately. The cubs were different sizes. Some were as big as large dogs. Some were as big as small horses. Their crystal claws clicked on the metal floor when they moved. Several cubs moved between Daejung and Minji. They were protecting her. Commander, Minji said. Her voice was surprisingly calm for someone caught keeping illegal predators. She stood in the center of the room wearing normal station clothes. Her hair was tied back simply. I suppose we need to talk. That is an understatement, Dr. Kang. Daejung kept his hands where they could see them. His body language was non-threatening. The cubs had not attacked yet. But several made low rumbling sounds that were definitely not purring. May I come in? Minji looked at the biggest cub, the one whose head had been on her shoulder in the video. It stared back at her for a long moment. Then it made a huffing sound and stepped aside. They are protective, she explained, but they will follow my lead. Come in slowly. Keep your movement smooth. Don't make eye contact until they accept you. Daejung followed her instructions. He moved into the room very carefully. The cubs watched every move he made. Their special eyes created a strange feeling of being watched from many angles at once. He had faced enemy weapons that felt less scary. The room was completely different now. All the normal furniture was gone. Instead, there were climbing structures, heated sleeping platforms, and custom feeding stations. The walls had scratch marks on them, but they were controlled marks, as if the cubs had special scratching areas. Minji sat on a bench against the far wall. Right away, 3 cubs arranged themselves around her. One put its tail across her lap. She stroked it without thinking while she looked at Daejung. I know what you are going to say, she began. I broke about a dozen rules. I should have reported the imprinting. I should have asked for a proper containment area. I should have requested oversight. Yes. And if I had done any of those things, these cubs would be dead right now. The protocol for imprinted Karvathi that cannot be safely contained is immediate killing. No exceptions. There are reasons for that protocol, Doctor. I know. Karvathi are dangerous. They are apex predators with no natural fear of humans. They can tear through metal walls. They have killed hundreds of colonists and explorers. Keeping them on a populated station is stupid at best, suicidal at worst. She leaned forward. Her face looked intense. But Commander, those protocols are based on adult Karvathi behavior. Mature predators that see humans as prey. No one has ever studied imprinted cubs raised in a human environment. We did not know what was possible. One of the medium cubs approached Daejung. It moved with careful curiosity. He forced himself to stay still as it walked around him. Its special eyes examined him from many angles. After a moment, it made a soft chirping sound. It bumped its head against his leg. "That is Taiyang," Minji said. Her voice had a hint of pride. "He is the youngest. He hatched about 3 hours after the others. He has always been the most social." Daejung looked down at the cub. It looked back with what seemed like friendly interest. Slowly, carefully, he reached out. He touched the top of its head. The scales were warm and surprisingly smooth. Taeyang's purring started right away. It was a deep sound that Daejung could feel through his boots. "They are not monsters," Minji said softly. "They are intelligent, social creatures who form deep emotional bonds. Everything we thought we knew about Karvathi was based on studying them as enemies. We never tried to understand them as individuals." "What happens when they are fully grown?" Daejung asked. "When they are strong enough to tear this room apart? When their hunting instincts fully develop?" "I don't know," Minji admitted. "That is why this is research, Commander. But here is what I learned so far. Karvathi cubs can learn behavioral boundaries. They respond to positive reinforcement. They understand hierarchy. They respect authority figures in their family unit. And most importantly, they know the difference between family and prey. To them, I am not something to hunt. I am the one who feeds them, who keeps them safe, who sleeps beside them at night." She stood up. The cubs around her moved to let her pass. She walked to a cabinet and pulled out a data drive. "I documented everything: feeding patterns, social hierarchies, learning curves, communication methods. This is 6 weeks of intensive behavioral data on a species we have only studied dead or in combat. It is revolutionary." Daejung took the drive. He weighed it in his hand. 6 weeks of data. 6 weeks of successful living together between a human and 17 creatures that should have killed her the moment they hatched. "What do you want, Dr. Kang?" "Permission to continue the study. With proper oversight this time. Full transparency. A realistic evaluation of risks and benefits. If this works, if I can raise these cubs to adulthood without incident, we could have the first peaceful Karvathi-human relations in history. Think about what that means. No more colony massacres. No more lost exploration teams. A chance to understand one of the galaxy's most dangerous species as something other than a threat." The biggest cub approached now. It was massive. Easily 300 pounds. It had claws that could kill him in one swipe. It stopped in front of Daejung. It looked at him with those strange 17 spectrum eyes. Then it bowed its head. It made a soft questioning sound. "That is Bora," Minji said quietly. "The Alpha. She is asking for your approval." "It is a sign of respect." Daejung reached out. He placed his hand on Bora's head. The cub leaned into the touch, purring. "I need to review your data," he said finally. "We will need proper safety protocols. Stronger containment. Regular behavioral tests. Plans if things go wrong. This cannot be a solo operation anymore." Minji's face showed hope and relief. "You are allowing it?" "I am not shutting it down yet, but Dr. Kang, if any of these cubs shows aggression towards station personnel, if there is even a hint that this is becoming unsafe, I will not hesitate to implement termination protocols. Am I clear?" "Crystal clear, Commander." "Thank you." 3 months later, the emergency Daejung feared finally happened, but it did not come from where he expected. It started with a hole in the station wall in Section 9. This was 3 levels below Minji's quarters. A small space rock hit the station. The auto repair systems could handle it easily. But the rock punctured a coolant line. The escaping chemicals were toxic to most carbon-based life, including humans. "Evacuate sections 8 through 10, Daejung ordered. He pulled up the emergency plans. "Seal all connecting corridors. Reroute life support. How long until the air scrubbers clear the contamination?" 16 hours minimum, Hyunwoo reported. "Sir, we have a problem. The evacuation route for Section 9 goes through Section 7, Dr. Kang's section." Daejung looked at the station map. He was right. 23 crew members needed to evacuate through the corridor that passed right by the reinforced habitat, the same habitat that now held 17 Karvathi cubs. Each one was approaching full juvenile size and strength. "What are our options?" "We could suit everyone up. Route them through the external maintenance tunnels. But that would take time we don't have. The contamination is spreading faster than we thought. We need to evacuate now." Daejung made his decision in 3 seconds. "Contact Dr. Kang. Tell her we need to move 24 people through her corridor. Ask if the cubs can handle it. Minji's answer came back almost immediately. Send them through. I will keep the cubs calm. 10 minutes later, Daejung stood in Section 7 as the first evacuees arrived. They moved in small groups. They looked nervous and alert. Each person had been told what waited in the nearby habitat. The door to Minji's quarters was open as he instructed. It was visible but separated by a reinforced barrier. The cubs were watching. All 17 lined up behind the barrier. Their special eyes tracked each person who passed. They were much larger now. Some were approaching adult size. Bora the Alpha stood in the center. She was a massive presence that showed controlled power. Beside her, Minji stood with her hand resting on the great predator's shoulder. The first group passed without problems. Then the second. By the third group, some evacuees were slowing down. They stared at the cubs with fear and fascination mixed together. Keep moving, Daejung said quietly. Don't stop. Don't stare. Then Engineer Jiwon stumbled. His foot caught on an uneven floor plate. He fell hard. His tool bag spilled across the corridor with a loud crash and clatter. The cubs reacted instantly. Several lunged forward. Only Minji's sharp command stopped them. But one cub, a medium-sized male that Daejung recognized as Hanul, was already through the barrier. He moved with the terrifying speed that made Karvathi such efficient hunters. Jiwon scrambled backward. His face was pale with terror as 300 pounds of apex predator came toward him. Around them, several evacuees screamed. Daejung reached for his stunner. He knew he was too slow. He was about to watch a man die. Hanul stopped in front of Jiwon. He carefully picked up the fallen tool bag in his jaws. The cub turned. He walked back to Jiwon. He gently placed the bag beside him. Then he made a soft, concerned chirping sound. He used his nose to nudge the engineer toward the corridor exit. He was helping. Jiwon stared at the cub for a frozen moment. Then with shaking hands he reached out. He touched Hanul's head. Thank you, he whispered. Hanul purred. Then he ran back to join the others behind the barrier. The remaining evacuees passed through in shocked silence. When the last person was through, Daejung stood alone in the corridor with Minji. The barrier was still down. The cubs watched him with interest. They knew he was hurt, Minji said softly. Hanul was trying to help, not hunt. I saw that. Daejung put away his unused stunner. Dr. Kang, I need you to understand something. What just happened, what your cubs just showed us, this changes everything. Do you realize that? They are not monsters, she said again. The same word she used 3 months ago. But now they had proof behind them. No, Daejung agreed. They are not. And I think the galaxy needs to know that. Taeyang, still the most social of the cubs, came to the barrier. He looked at Daejung and chirped hopefully. The same sound he made months ago during their first meeting. Daejung stepped through the barrier. He let the young Karvathi lean against his leg. The creature purred contentedly. Around them, the other cubs relaxed. They accepted his presence in their space. I'm going to contact Xenobiology Command, he said. We need to expand this program. Controlled environments, more researchers, proper protocols. If Karvathi can be socialized like this from hatching, if they can see humans as family rather than prey, it could prevent conflicts across dozens of colony worlds. You are talking about a complete change in human-Karvathi relations. I am talking about saving lives. On both sides, he looked around at the cubs. These creatures that every protocol said should be killed, that every rule classified as permanent threats. You were right, Doctor. We never tried to understand them. We just assumed they were monsters because they were different from us. Bora approached him now. The massive alpha moved with surprising grace. She pressed her head against his chest. He felt the rumble of her purr through his entire body. They trust you, Minji observed. You are part of the family now. Daejung scratched behind Bora's ears. He marveled at how something so powerful could be so gentle. How long until they are fully grown? Another month, maybe 2. They will need more space soon. And eventually they will need to choose. Stay with humans or return to their own kind. What do you think they will choose? Minji looked around at her unusual family. These 17 predators who bonded with a human instead of hunting her. I think they will choose both. They are Karvathi, but they are also ours. They learned that different species can live together, can care for each other, can be family. And once they are adults, once they can talk with wild Karvathi, they will teach others what they learned. Peace through understanding. Peace through family, Minji corrected. That is what humans do best, Commander. We make families out of the strangest creatures. Dogs, cats, horses, even creatures from other worlds. We have this incredible ability to form bonds across species barriers. Maybe that is our real strength. Our contribution to the galaxy. Not our technology or our weapons, but our capacity to love the alien, the different, the supposedly dangerous. Daejung thought about that. He stood surrounded by 17 Karvathi cubs. They were living proof that humanity's greatest weapon might not be weapons at all. It might just be the ability to see monsters and choose to see family instead. 6 months after the coolant leak incident, Daejung stood in the newly built habitat dome. He was watching history being made. The habitat was huge. A quarter of the station's total space was dedicated to creating a place where 17 fully grown Karvathi could live comfortably. It had artificial terrain that looked like the jungles of Karveth Prime. It included climbing structures, hunting grounds, and rest areas, but it also had human spaces, observation decks, research stations, and living quarters for staff who volunteered to work directly with the cubs. Former cubs, he corrected himself. They were adults now. Each one was a magnificent example of apex predator evolution. Bora stood nearly 6 feet tall at the shoulder. Her crystal claws could shred metal walls. Taiyang had grown into a lean, athletic hunter with incredible speed. Hanel, the helper from the evacuation, had become the pack's unofficial medic. He showed unusual interest in injured creatures and unexpected gentleness in his care, and all of them still slept beside Minji at night. The delegation from Karveth Prime just docked, Hyunwoo reported. They are requesting permission to enter the habitat. This was the moment they prepared for, wild Karvathi meeting their socialized cousins for the first time. It could go 2 ways. Either the wild ones would accept the socialized pack, or they would see them as wrong and attack. Minji stood in the center of the habitat. Bora was at her side. She looked calm, but Daejung had learned to read the tension in her shoulders, the slight tremor in her hands. Send them in, he ordered. The airlock opened. 5 adult Karvathi entered. They were wild-born and wild-raised. With them came their handler, a human named Jiho who had spent 20 years learning to live with the species in their natural habitat. The 2 groups faced each other across the habitat floor. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Bora stepped forward. She made a sound. A complex series of clicks and rumbles that Daejung had never heard before. The wild Karvathi responded the same way. Their vocalizations created an intricate conversation in a language humans were only beginning to understand. Then Bora did something extraordinary. She walked to Minji. She pressed her massive head against the human's chest. She looked back at the wild Karvathi as if to say, "This is my family." One by one, the other socialized Karvathi joined her. They created a protective circle around Minji. Not threatening, but making a statement. This is who we are. This is what we chose. The wild Karvathi approached slowly. Their body language was cautious but not aggressive. They circled the group. They examined this strange pack that included a human at its core. Then the largest of the wild ones approached Minji directly, a scarred veteran that Jiho had named Tempest. Bora growled. A warning, but Minji placed a hand on the alpha's shoulder. She calmed her. "It is okay," she said softly. "Let them see." Tempest stopped inches from Minji. All 17 special eyes focused on her face. The human and the predator looked at each other for a long, tense moment. Then Tempest bowed his head. It was the same gesture Bora made 6 months ago. The first time she met Daejung, a sign of respect, an acknowledgement of authority. Minji reached out. She touched Tempest's head. The wild Karvathi's purr started immediately. A deep rumble that echoed through the habitat. "They understand," Jiho said. His voice was filled with wonder. "The wild ones understand what happened here. Your pack showed them that humans can be family, not prey, and they are accepting it." Over the next hours, the 2 groups mixed together. The wild Karvathi explored the habitat. They investigated the human spaces. They interacted carefully with various staff members. Taiyang, ever the social one, appointed himself as tour guide. He chirped excitedly as he showed the newcomers around. Daijun watched it all from the observation deck. Hana stood beside him. "I still cannot believe we are seeing this," she whispered. 6 months ago this would have been impossible. Now look at them. Wild Karvathi and humans in the same space, and nobody is trying to kill anyone. Minji changed everything, Daejung replied. She took a chance on 17 eggs. She created the possibility of peace between two species. It is more than that. She proved that what we see as an enemy might just be a family we have not met yet. Down below, Minji sat in the middle of the habitat. She was surrounded by all 22 Karvathi, the socialized pack that grew up with her, and the wild pack that was learning to trust. She was laughing. Her hands were busy scratching ears and stroking scales. The apex predators of Karveth Prime purred and chirped. They competed for her attention like oversized house cats. Daejung's communicator made a sound. It was a message from Earth. From Xenobiology Command. Request approved. Station authorized to establish first official human Karvathi integration program. Additional funding allocated. Recommend expansion to other apex predator species. Congratulations on groundbreaking work. He showed the message to Hana. She smiled. Other apex predator species. They are already thinking bigger. Of course they are. That is what humans do. We push boundaries. We challenge assumptions. We look at the impossible and ask why not. And we make families out of monsters. They were never monsters, Daijung corrected gently. We just needed someone brave enough to see past our fear, to recognize the intelligence, the emotion, the potential for connection that was there all along. Below, Bora looked up at the observation deck. Her 17 eyes found Daejung perfectly. She made a sound. The same complex vocalization she used to greet the wild Karvathi. Jiho, who was still in the habitat, translated. She says, "Tell the commander thank you for not killing us when he had the chance, for giving us the opportunity to show what we could be." Daejung felt an unexpected tightness in his chest. He activated the habitat speaker system. "Tell Bora that no thanks are necessary. Tell her that she and her pack taught us something important, that fear is not wisdom, and that the bravest thing humans can do is choose understanding over violence," Jiho translated. Bora's purr echoed through the speakers, deep and resonant and unmistakably pleased. That night, the entire station gathered to watch. Minji and the Karvathi participated in what became known as the First Contact Ceremony. It was broadcast across human space. It was sent to every known alien civilization. The message was simple but deep. Different does not mean enemy. Predator does not mean monster. And family can be built across any divide, if both sides are willing to try. As Minji stood in the center of the habitat, she had one hand on Bora's massive head. Her other hand gestured to the cameras. She spoke words that would define a new era. 17 Karvathi cubs slept beside a human. Every detector in the base flagged it as predator resting with prey. The detectors were right, but they were also wrong, because in the end we were not predator and prey. We were just a family sleeping safe together in the dark. The broadcast ended with an image that would be copied across 1,000 worlds. Minji curled up in her sleeping pod, surrounded by 17 enormous Karvathi, their crystal claws pulled back, their special eyes closed, their powerful bodies arranged protectively around the human who raised them, predators and prey, resting together, or as humanity came to understand it, just another family, proving that love and trust can bridge any divide. The end.